So we recently got a new Borderlands 4 video where some of the developers went over the process of creating the Vault Hunters, but this video also gave us a look at some new information on some of the Vault Hunters. Specifically, almost all of this new information is on Amon, the really big, bulky Vault Hunter. So that's primarily what I wanted to go over in this video, but I'd also recommend going and checking this video out yourself because they also gave a look at a bunch of different cosmetics and art pieces for a lot of different customizations or animations for different Vault Hunters that are all pretty cool and give you a glimpse into some of the other customization. Now, the biggest new thing we got to look at was Amon's skill tree, or part of one of the skill trees. Now, first off, it seems that all of the Vault Hunter skill trees are going to be following the same color scheme. So green, blue, and red. So it doesn't seem that the coloring of any of the skill trees are based upon anything in those skill trees or anything like that. It just seems they went with the same coloring to make it make a bit more sense playing multiple Vault Hunters. And it looks like the layouts are also going to be the same across all the Vault Hunters. When I went over all the information we got on Vex and got a look at her skill trees, I said that there probably wouldn't be much variation between all of the skill trees. The main variations would just be obviously different choices. Every node and ability would obviously be different, but the actual layout of the skill trees and the average amount of points would probably be the same. That seems to be true here. And we also did get a look at one of the passives from Amon that does actually give us some pretty interesting new information, in that some of the passive nodes in these skill trees seem to be much more interesting than a lot of previous Borderlands games. Because the node we got to look at is Tempered Lightning. It's a passive. It goes up to 5 points. And this is a Forge Drone skill, which I'm assuming is just this skill tree is probably using Forge Drones. But it says when Amon activates his action skill, he spawns a Sword Forge Drone that attacks nearby enemies for a duration, dealing shock melee damage. Activating an action skill while active, so while the sword is out, partially restores the duration of all Forge Drones. This is not only really interesting as a passive by itself, but also gives us a bit of information into probably this skill tree specifically, that it's using these Forge Drones. And it seems that these Forge Drones are probably anything that Amon forges as an action skill or any type of passive. Like we've seen his 2 big axes, those are most likely considered Forge Drones as well, because we have seen that his drones come out and forge those weapons. So it seems not only are the weapons that Amon is going to be physically using are going to be these Forge Drones, but also you'll be able to summon other Forge Drones that just run around and attack things, one of them being this lightning or shock sword. Now, interestingly enough, to go alongside that, we also got a small glimpse at what looked to be a lightning sword, and it might be hard to see because it was kind of in the background on a monitor, but this legitimately looks like a lightning sword. It almost looks like it's reminiscent of Thunder Fury from World of Warcraft, kind of a smaller version. I would not be surprised if this lightning sword we get to see on this monitor is not the sword Forge Drone you can get from this passive, because it's Tempered Lightning, you're summoning a shock sword. This seems to be that shock sword. Now, there is also the possibility that Amon himself has a sword or lightning sword that he uses, but I would be very surprised if these weren't the same things. Now, during a bit of B-roll from this video, we also got a little bit of footage of Amon having 2 of these cryo or ice axes, which is also interesting because every other time we saw him dual wielding axes, it was 1 fire and 1 cold or 1 cryo. So it seems like he can't have just 2 being cold, but it also looks like in this footage that he's taking these 2 axes and kind of smashing them together by the hilts. And some people were having the theory that this is like a dual-sided polearm or something like that, or maybe he's just combining these axes together and maybe he does like some spin or something with this axe that's now put together. I would say it's probably a better chance that this is being turned into a dual-sided polearm. But it is also interesting that there's an animation for this, because this isn't like a pre-rendered cinematic or anything. This is just actual footage of in-game. So I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of different animations based upon what skills you use or based upon what augments you're using with those skills. And one of the final things we got to look at for with Amon specifically is some of what seems to be different action skills or different augments to those action skills. Now, on the screen, this was all kind of base animations, but first off, on the left side, we got to see what looks to be his shield. His hand is up and it looks to have a shield in front of it. We did get to see that in one of these cinematic trailers, that he'd be able to have a big shield. The other one looks to be his kind of cryo whip we got to see. It looks more fiery here, so maybe there's different elements to it. We got to see that in some footage as well, where he has a whip as one of the weapons he can use that has more of a ranged attack. We also see what seems to be his frontal fire punch here, which I've been theorizing that this is one of his action skills, because we didn't fully know if this was one of his action skills, but it seems to be where he just punches forward, does a massive punch, and pretty much a wave of flame flies out and just hits everything in front of it. Then we get to see a bunch of other potential animations. One of them looks to be dual wielding weapons, where he jumps up, slams on the ground. We kind of got to see this in the cinematic as well. We get to see him using what looks to be a much bigger two-handed axe, and the axe looks a bit different than the other ones we got to see, and him just swinging it forward. So it seems you may have the ability to dual wield or just use one two-hander for many of his weapons. Then we also get to see what looks to be more punches, just with some different animations on them. It looks to be a bit of a different color than the top fire punch, and there's also some blue spread around in it. So this could just be work in progress and the top thing is a finished version, or more than likely these are different augments to whatever his punch action skill is actually going to be. Now that seems to be the main new information we got from this video, besides if you're looking at more of the creative process of creating these Vault Hunters, or looking at a bunch of new cosmetics or different looks, or some of the animations for some of the other Vault Hunters, specifically Vex. They kind of show off some of the art of her wings and different skills and stuff like that, which looks pretty cool. I'd also recommend checking out the video because it is interesting on how they go about making these Vault Hunters. We did also get to see something else really cool for Amon, one of his skins called Dark Paladin. Now this seems to be the main way they're showing Amon in most of the recent footage, because if you go back at the first reveal of Borderlands 4, when we first saw the first 4 Vault Hunters, everybody thought they were super boring. I think those are actually still going to be skins in the game or options in the game. I just think they're now choosing more interesting skins in the game to show off their Vault Hunter as, because this seems to be the main way they're showing Amon now in this Dark Paladin skin. But again, this will just be a skin. You'll be able to change so many different skins. We've already gotten a ton of skins shown to us actually, so it looks like they're going much more heavily into the customization of your Vault Hunters and even of different weapons in Borderlands 4. But this Dark Paladin version of Amon looks really cool as well. But that's pretty much all I want to go over, so thanks for watching.